Before the holidays, we were trying to get as much done as we possibly could on the TT and the S4. For the TT, we left off by finally replacing our dented rocker panel with an OEM one. We're going to be wrapping this car pretty soon, but there's a few things we need to do beforehand to make it a feasible project. Today we're going to be test fitting and replacing the front splitter that we lost in the first day of snow, and this one is a lot more durable. Before we get too deep into this, I was gifted a new tool for Christmas, which you're going to see a lot of. Part of my year resolutions for this channel was to upgrade pretty much everything in the video production flow, and a big part of that is going to be upgrading the tools I use. You'll see this one in nearly every video going forward, so we're going to introduce it. A lot of people may not consider this a tool per se, but it honestly is more helpful than most things I could buy. I generally sit on the ground, a cooler, or a bucket, so this is going to be getting a lot of use. Plus, it's got drawers and wheels, which are plenty useful. We're going to start prepping out the TT's exterior transformation today. First thing I want to do is test fit and drill out the holes for the new front splitter from SplitterKit. Since we're going to wrap the car relatively soon, we may be taking the splitter and spoiler right back off, but I want to see what it looks like on the car now before we get to the point where we're taking everything apart to wrap it. Plus, I don't want to drill the holes in the wrap. I'd rather drill the holes in the bumper and then just reuse those with the wrap. Unlike when we installed the front lip on the S4, today we're going to actually put the TT on jack stands because unlike the S4, this car is low to the ground. So if we used ramps when we were driving off of them, we'd literally just tear the splitter off, and I think that would be a very anticlimactic end to the video, so we're gonna try to avoid that. Front splitter installs are very straightforward. Before we get too far, we have two things to do. Jack the car up and unbox the thing. The front splitter I went with is from a company called Splitter Gang. They're a company based out of Los Angeles, and I originally discovered them when I was looking for a similar part for my S4, which you might remember. As soon as the old plastic front splitter that was on the TT for a long time broke, I knew this was what I wanted to go with. This is going to be a serious step up in quality. The old splitter was made out of plastic and held on not very well. This splitter comes with proper mounting hardware and is made out of a lightweight, durable aluminum composite, so the only way it's coming off is if the whole bumper does. Since the car's in the air, we can go ahead and start the install right away. My car has a front mount intercooler, and some of the piping gets really close to where the install hardware is going to go for the front splitter. So to be able to reach underneath it, I'm taking off the front vents. This is a lot easier than removing the entire bumper. Here's where I like to get a little bit creative. I want to set the front splitter in the location where I want it to basically stay when it's actually installed. So I found a box around me that was roughly the perfect height to mock up where I want this to sit, and position it so that all the hardware is able to safely mount into the bumper. It's a little bit different stylistically than the front splitter I had made before, but I do really like it. While mocking it up though, I did find some damage I didn't know about before. Happy New Year me! I just noticed that the bumper's actually cracked as well. It wasn't just the front splitter that we lost. I'm still going to put this one on the bumper for now because I want to test fit it and get everything looking all good there, but I may actually investigate upgrading the bumper too. We'll see if I like any of the looks. I mean, I guess we technically could even consider a full body kit for the car if we found one that wasn't stuck in the 2000s. If you have suggestions for that, let me know.
These cracks are definitely not deal breakers when it comes to wrapping the bumper, since we can fill and sand them down. But they also make the lower half of this bumper specifically that we can buy and replace it with or upgrade it with depending on how aggressive we want to go. I know the Oh Sir kit is pretty cool. Behind the grille that I removed, there is a mark in the bumper denoting the center, and I'm using tape to continue that line, which I'm matching to the centered hardware hole on the front splitter. Then it's just a matter of using clamps to align the rear of the splitter for as far back as I want it to sit. Even though my bumper's not in the best shape, measuring twice and drilling once was the goal. I'm doing the middle bolt first because I know for a fact that it's centered properly. I loosely put in the hardware so it would stay in place, and then I went to each side by the wheel well. I'm picking 3 spread out points so the piece will loosely hang where it's going to hang when it's fully installed. That way I can drill the rest of the actual holes and tighten the hardware down properly. Since the lip is attached to the front exactly in the center, it can rotate around that point. So at this time, what I'm measuring is the amount of rotation and how far it creeps into the wheel well. I want that to be even so the lip is even. These first 3 holes are the most important in making your lip centered. After triple checking the spacing and hand tightening the initial hardware, we were good to remove the supports. Since it was already lined up, the rest of the holes were really easy to drill. It's also kind of funny that from this angle it looks like I'm drilling into the intercooler, but I'm actually a few inches in front of it, so don't worry, even though I could see myself doing that by accident. Having installed a few different types of front lips, I can definitely say that this is a very straightforward process. When it comes to front lips, generally, if they supply you with actual mounting hardware, it's a fairly quality product. If your mounting hardware is self-tapping screws, it's not going to be nearly as sturdy or functional as something like bolts and washers, which equally spread the weight. And with the sheer amount of mounting hardware this front lip uses, I think it's going to be pretty sturdy. The kit comes with bolts, spacers, and a bunch of washers to evenly spread the pressure. There's somewhere between 9 to 11 different points where this actually makes contact with the bumper and is bolted down, and the more points of contact, the more evenly the pressure is spread, making it sturdier. At this point, it's really just a matter of making sure everything is drilled properly and tightened down evenly. With all the mounting hardware fastened properly, I went ahead and lowered the car and reinstalled the vents. Now, I know front lips aren't necessarily everyone's favorite style for cars, but personally, I love the look of them. Especially with a spoiler extension, I think a front lip is a must. It really balances out the side profile of a car and gives it a much more aggressive stance. Plus, my TT has been rocking one since last winter, and honestly, it kinda looks naked without it. So for me, it's something I've wanted to put on ever since the last one broke. We'll get a closer look at this towards the end of the video, but first impressions of the splitter are fantastic. It's a very different style than the one that was on the car when it broke. This is rounder and complements the lines of the car a lot more than the angular one that I made. Not that the angular one was bad, but I think this one fits the spirit and the shape of this car a little bit more. Plus, this is so much more durable that it's not even really comparable. So it's an absolute win. I figured it was also a good time to polish up the headlights and ceramic coat them so they stop fogging over. I also noticed a bit of moisture inside the headlights, so I either need to replace them or reseal them. I really like the stock headlights on the TT, but I'm not opposed to aftermarket ones. If there's ones you like the look of and think would look good on the project, let me know and I'll definitely check them out. Let's talk about my rear spoiler extension. This is an eBay special that I've had on the car for quite some time now. For the price, I do really like it, but it is starting to fall apart. The clear coat is cracked and peeling in multiple places, and the whole thing is warped from the changing temperature of being outside. You get what you pay for. I was gonna have to remove this anyways when wrapping the car, but that's when an opportunity presented itself that I am incredibly excited for. One of the coolest things about Splitter Gang is they do custom work. And what I mean by that is they'll make pretty much whatever you want them to. It just so happened that they had a prototype rear spoiler extension for the Mark I TT sitting around their shop that was never actually installed on anything. So in other words, a one-of-one prototype that needs testing and revision. And here's where it gets really cool. You see, they actually sent it out to me free of charge to use on my TT for testing. We get to install the prototype as is, and then put on our designer hats and critique the design. We'll give them lots of feedback on the prototype, how it looks, how it fits, and what we think could be improved. We'll get all the proper measurements and suggestions to them so that they can have a truly cool product and an offering for a spoiler extension on the TT. And at the same time, I want to take the stylistic cues of this spoiler and create some custom side skirts for the car. These would not replace the OEM rocker panels, but be an addition to them, similar in style to what the S4 has. I'm going to design it such that it flows stylistically from the front splitter through the side skirts and into the spoiler extension. I want it all to mesh well, and honestly, that design process is going to be a lot of fun, and I really do want your feedback on it. My goal here isn't just to make a good-looking design for my car. The goal in my mind is to make a design that you guys also want to put on your cars, because I think this car deserves all the support it can get. So workshopping these ideas with you is going to be a lot of fun, and I don't want to rush any of this. Today, I just want to get this prototype on the car so you guys can give me feedback on both the prototype and what you think we should do for the styling of the side skirts. I'm going to dedicate an entire video to the design process and getting all the measurements we need to suggest the revision, and I could not be happier to take you guys with me. Here's what the car looks like as is. I've already got a whole list of suggestions for the prototype as well as initial ideas for my side skirts, but I'm going to save them all for when we can dedicate real time to it. Today, all I ask is, if you have a suggestion, let me know. I am so excited to see what we can come up with. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, consider dropping a like and subscribing for more. It's the best way you can help support me and my content. It really does mean a lot to me that you would take time out of your day to watch my video. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you again. I hope you have a wonderful day.